my channel. I've got a very special vlog for you today, and I'm going to be showing off all the dresses that I made for my sister's wedding a couple of weeks ago. So I made the wedding dress and the 2 bridesmaids dresses. I also made the bride a jacket to wear over her wedding dress on the day, just because it's a winter wedding and I knew it would get cold, so I made her this jacket as a surprise. I actually gave it to her for her birthday a couple of weeks before the wedding anyway, just in case she hated it. I didn't want her to feel obliged to wear it on the day, so I thought I'd give it to her a little bit earlier and then she had that choice, but it was kind of for the wedding as such. So I'm just going to talk about the bridesmaids dresses first. So I used the Deer and Doe Magnolia dress, which is this one here, as the basis for both of the dresses. I made them differently and I hacked I hacked the pattern for both of the dresses just to tailor it to exactly what we wanted. So the bridesmaids was me and my older sister. We have quite different body types. We're the same height, but she's very slim, very slender, and I'm much curvier in comparison. So I knew that I didn't want us to have the same dress because either one of us would look great and the other person would look terrible, or vice versa. And you know, I just didn't want to have that kind of direct comparison if we didn't need to. So I knew for my dress that I wanted to have this kind of 70s boho kind of feel to it. I wanted this big sleeve and the plunging neckline and the full length skirt. I was very lucky in that the bride really didn't mind what we made at all, so I just went with what I wanted. For my sister's dress, I made hers, I made the style of hers quite different. We kept the same skirt, so the skirt and the waistband for both of the dresses is the same, and exactly the same as the Deer and Doe pattern, except I've put the zip into the centre back, so I've added a centre back seam instead of having it in the side, and then the top just got altered quite a lot. Okay, so if we start with my one first, so the bodice is essentially the same on the front. The back, I have put in a centre back seam. Hopefully you can see that. And closed it with a little button on the top, and kept it as a really long keyhole neck and open to the waist. I then put a short zip into the centre back there. The pattern originally comes with the side zip, and I hate side zips. I've made the pattern before, a lovely long dress, but I always find those side zips really annoying, so I decided, you know, if I didn't have to have it, I wouldn't. For the sleeves, so the Magnolia pattern comes with a long gathered sleeve, but not to this extent. I wanted something bigger and more billowy, so I just slash and spread the pattern, and the sleeve pattern that is, to create more volume on the sleeve, and lengthened it as well, because I think the original's a little on the short side. I also put in a cuff here, and I purposely made the cuff so that it comes along around the index thumb area on the side here, and put 2 little buttons on there as well. Putting cuffs in like this and placement and all of that, traditionally it would be on this side over here and be turning the opposite direction. I just wanted to make something a little bit different, and I also wanted to make the buttons just a little bit more visible on the front here. It makes it easier to do up as well because it's on that side of your hand. It is personal preference. You can put these little slits in, and I used a little bit of binding on the edge there, put the cuffs in. Once you've done them a few times, I think they're quite easy to kind of put onto anything and put wherever you want, so it wasn't that kind of difficult of a hack. It's just using knowledge that I had gained from other makes and applying them to this one. The bodice I have fully lined, so you can see it's got this kind of orangey, tomatoey colour on the inside. That's a silk twill that I got, and that's lining both the front and back bodice there. The velvet is a woven velvet. It's a silk viscose mix that I got from a shop in Paris. I ordered it online. It's called Sacre Coupon. It's very, very reasonable for what you're getting. You can find some really good bargains in there. So For this, I got 6 meters of fabric. They sell them in bolts of 3 meters, so I got 2 lots of 3 meters, and each bolt was €50 each. Which was, for what you're getting, I think is actually very reasonable. That being said, this is not an easy fabric to work with. I would not recommend it for a beginner. Even for more advanced sewists, you know, you need to be very patient. Take your time. It's difficult to cut, difficult to sew. It requires a lot of patience. There were times where I was ready to just chuck everything in the bin, but I persevered, and I'm really glad I did, because I really love how this turned out. Give me a moment, I'm going to stand and give you a little tutorial of what this looks like full length. Alright, well, this is as full length as you're going to get. Might miss my feet, but they're kind of boring, so that's okay. So you see it's a panelled A-line skirt with a big slit up one side here. 3 panels on the front. It should also be 3 panels on the back, but I've split it into 4 so that I've got a centre back seam here. And the waistband here. I omitted the waist ties, so the original pattern's supposed to have waist ties that go in here and then wrap around the back, but I knew from previous fitting that it wasn't really necessary, it's just decorative, so I decided to omit that as well. I went for the low V-neck. They do come with 2 options with this bodice, so you can have one that kind of crosses over a little bit higher, but I knew that the lower one would work well for this. Got princess seams on the front there, and you can see the sleeve, which I've kept with a few little gathers on the sleeve cap, very gathered towards the cuff, and you can see the cuffs there too, and on the back, again on the neck there, just darts in the back there, and then closing with another button on the top. And it's just the most amazing thing I've made myself all year. I really love it. I love how it looks. I love how it feels. Despite all of that I've said there about how difficult the fabric was to work with and all of that, it does feel amazing, okay? It's essentially silk on the back, and then the pile is viscose, so as you can imagine, it's super soft, super drapey. I always cut my fabric when I work with velvet with the pile running this way, okay? And what that does is creates more depth of colour when you look at it. So yes, it doesn't feel quite as nice when you run your hands down this way on your body, and you get that smooth feeling when you run it upwards, but it gives you a much more lustrous appearance of the fabric. So I'm going to show you the other bridesmaid's dress as well and talk you through that too. So unfortunately my sisters weren't able to come down and actually show these off in person, so you'll have to put up with me just holding them up, but I will insert some photos here or here or here, so you can see what it looked like on. But just to give you a few kind of close-up ideas of what's happening with this. So this is the other bridesmaid's dress. The skirt, exactly the same as my skirt, okay, so nothing exciting there. Even the centre back seam and the zip is exactly the same there, okay. But the real joy in this comes from the bodice. So as you can see, I've made it into this kind of strappy bodice. It took a fair bit of work in order to get it to be like this, because when you have a bodice like this with sleeves, the ease that's built in is very different than something that's sleeveless. You have to have all of this extra fabric in this area here in order for you to actually be able to move, you know. No pattern bodice sloper is going to be like so tight against your body that it's going to restrict movement. But when you're making something that's strappy like this, you do actually want it to be quite tight to the body and very fitted. So what I had done is with the base pattern, so in other words, what the bodice from the Magnolia dress, I kind of chopped and changed everything to have the style lines that I wanted, okay? So cutting it out on the side here, and then tapering it down to nothing at the back of the waist, okay? And then I just did a lot of toils. I got some calico and just did a couple of mock-ups, taking it in where I needed to. When you do mock-ups like that, I made sure to include the waistband into that, so it's not just the actual bodice pieces but the waistband as well, so that I could make sure that everything tapers together and would then attach to the skirt appropriately as well. So actually it took maybe a couple of rounds of that just to get the right, take out the ease essentially and change where the princess seam was, just to take it in slightly at that point as well. And then essentially I just put long strips onto the tip, from the shoulders onto the back to create this, oh, got it twisted around, create a crossover back here that would taper to nothing at the waist. So not great if you want to wear a bra, no. But this dress was based off a dress that we saw when we were at the Christian Dior exhibition, which for the life of me, I didn't take a photo, but I remember my sister saying on the day how much she loved this dress. It had this crossover back, like down to the waist, and really nice full A-line skirt. I think it had feathers on it. It was definitely pink. If anyone remembers what it is, let me know. But I wanted to create something like that for her because I knew that she would love it. She's not this kind of like floopy 70s kind of girl. I knew she'd want something quite sleek, quite modern, and I think it looked amazing on her. The back of the dress, oh my god, I was so pleased with how that turned out because I had a lot of worries about that. I ended up having to recut a lot of the back bits because with the back straps, because I started with the grain line and things like that. There were a lot of things that I didn't take into account until I started making it, and then realised that it wasn't going to work, and then I had to just kind of be prepared to change things at a moment's notice to make it do what I needed it to do. But that's all part of sewing, you know, practice, trial and error, all of that stuff. But I'm so pleased with how these two dresses turned out. They could really not have gone any better. Yeah, I'm literally looking for any excuse to wear this dress over and over again because I think it's amazing, and it's literally my dress of dreams, from the colour to the shape to the sleeve, and I'm just like so happy that I was allowed to just, you know, make what I wanted for it. And I think you could tell from the photos and stuff how happy we were with how they turned out, because you know when you know it looks good and you're just like, yeah. We're definitely having one of those days. Yeah, well, enough talk about the bridesmaids dresses. I will move on to the main events. So when it came to wedding dresses, so for started out, we actually did go to a wedding dress shop, okay? My little sister is really tiny. She's like size 6 to 8. She's shorter than I am, so she's what, just maybe pushing 5 foot. And I knew that regardless of what happened, she would never be able to find something straight away that would fit her well, okay? So we went to try stuff on, mostly to see kind of style lines, what kind of shape she wanted, all of that jazz. And there was one dress that we really loved on her. It had this kind of high neck, almost like a halter kind of racer neck, racer back style dress, relatively loose fitted, but you know, quite soft, quite drapey. If anyone remembers what Meghan Markle's reception dress was like, it looked like that. It's a Stella McCartney dress. If I can find a picture, I will put one here for you. And it looked very much like that. It had this really like modern, daring back to it, and she loved it. And I was like, all right, I'll make you one of those. And so we did. Last year we sent her on a bodice making class, so just for like a general sloper. And my hope was that, well, she's a dressmaker as well. This wasn't completely random, by the way. She makes her own stuff. It wasn't going to be completely useless afterwards. So, and she has actually used it to make a bunch of things too. But I wanted to get that so that I have a good base to make her wedding dress from. And it really worked a treat, actually. I made 3 twirls of her dress before we made it the final version. The first one obviously just had a lot of ease in it, so we had to just whip all of that out. And then the second version was almost perfect. What was wrong with the second version? It was too tight. Second version was too tight. I took up too much ease and she wasn't able to sit down. So the third version, we added some of the ease back in, particularly around the hip thigh area. She's got chunky thighs for a very skinny girl. You're welcome, Jess. And that was pretty much right on the money. So the general style was, you know, high neck, really fitted down to the knee, and then fanned out into a mermaid style skirt with a bit of a train. We split the dress so it had a bodice and a skirt with a slight curve to it, and the aim for that was to be able to use a different fabric or material for the top part to where the skirt is, just to break it up a little bit, so it wasn't all one colour, because we weren't sure whether we wanted to have things like embroidery, lace, something kind of more sparkly on one side. I knew she wouldn't want it top to toe, but this kind of gave her the option of having it on part of the dress. And this is the final dress. I'll show you a photo of what it looked like on. And this is the actual dress now. I'll go through in a bit more detail what I did and how it's made up. So as you can see, the top, really high neck. Got the back here, I've got sewn in bra cups here. Okay, so ignore how terrible that looks on the inside. This top part up to where the beading is here, this is all a velvet. Again, silk viscose velvet, exactly like what our bridesmaids dresses were made out of. The dress itself has princess seams all the way down, so we've matched up the bodice princess seams to where the skirt princess seams are all the way down through there. So if you looked at it, it would look all in one piece, and it has this really severe like columnar racer back around here, which is all our favourite part of the dress there. It's all fully lined. The top part I've lined with the cotton, just the white cotton, and the skirt is made out of a polyester crepe. Yes, don't judge me for it, but she was never going to wear it again. I wasn't going to spend loads of money on a silk crepe for her. And also this has a much nicer weight to it for a dress like this. And so the poly crepe I got from the Fabric Godmother. The velvet is from Paris. I actually think it's from the same store that I got this from as well, so from Sacre Coupon. The white cotton is from my stash, and the skirt is lined with a coupro. So this kind of coupro. And the reason why I've gotten different colours in terms of the lining is that the velvet had a very slight yellow tone to it, and to try to even them out, I've put white on the back of that, of the velvet, sorry, and then something slightly more ivory underneath the crepe, and together it made everything look more one colour, because it's annoying, but there are these slight variations in white, which sometimes you can't tell, and it doesn't mean anything, but sometimes you could really see it, and we could see it, so we decided to just make those small adjustments in order to do that. So as you can see, a lot of skirt, a lot of train. It is really grubby. She wore that. This has not been cleaned since she wore it. And yeah, it rained on the day of the wedding, so there's a lot of grubby, muddy bits on the bottom there. A result of any good party, right? So I'll show you what I made for her to wear over the dress. So I made her that jacket to wear over her wedding dress, and that is this one right here. This is the Mona jacket from Wear Lemonade. I subscribe to their Netflix of sewing patterns. Basically, it's a subscription service, and you get access to all of their PDF patterns. There's a minimum of 3 months subscription, but it's cheap enough that I signed up, downloaded all of them, and then cancelled it, as you do. And this is basically just a simple biker style jacket that they have on there. It's quite boxy, it's a bit loose fit around the bodice, and with like these long sleeves. I used this one just because I thought it was going to be quite simple to use. It is technically unlined, but I did add a lining on it. Again, the lining, one of my favourite things ever. If you look closely, Hopefully that is focusing. It's got all these little infinity symbols and it says love on it, and I was like, it's the cutest thing ever. Again, all this fabric's from Paris. Felt like France had a big role in this wedding. And the outer boucle is a fabric I got from Paris many moons ago, and the pink stuff is a cotton that I picked up there in May this year. Now the really special thing about this jacket is of course the back. So I hand embroidered this whole motif on the back there. I drew it out, hand designed it. I then used something called Solvay to actually draw the pattern on, and then use, like, basically just use some spray adhesive to get that onto the fabric, and then used an embroidery hoop over the top to keep everything in place whilst I was embroidering it. Solvay is a type of basically dissolvable interfacing, I guess is the right word for it. Basically it's really good for embroidery. You can draw all over it, stitch through it, and then it washes away, it just dissolves in water. So that was a really fun thing to use, the first time I've used it as well. And I just used just a variety of colourful threads just to make it look, you know, very soft and feminine, and, you know, like you're prancing through a meadow. So it says forever and always. I wasn't sure whether it should be forever and always or always and forever. It was kind of too late to change my mind afterwards, but I'll always be wondering whether that was the right way around to put it. But she likes it, and that's the important thing. So that is that jacket. So you can see I've got satin stitches over the big flowers. I use loads of French knots for all these little bits, and this is just a chain stitch for the writing part as well. And I really love how that turned out. I like that because I liked a lot of the bridal jackets that you can see on Pinterest and things, but they all say, you know, Mrs. whatever or just married and all of that, and I was like, well, after the wedding you can't really wear those for like day wear because that's just a bit weird, right? So I thought this has, you know, the connotations of love and romance and all of that kind of thing, but without it looking like too in your face. So this is something that hopefully she'll be able to wear over and over as well. So for the wedding, we didn't just make the dresses and jackets and all of that. So me and my older sister kind of, you know, ran riot over the whole thing. We ended up, so my sister baked the wedding cake. I helped to decorate, but she did bake the cake. And we decorated the venue as well. So we did all the flowers, bouquets, altarpiece, everything that you could think of we ended up doing. The flowers we loved in the end. We went really budget on it because I don't think you need to pay a lot of money to have flowers that look lovely. We literally cleared out Aldi and got about £100 worth of flowers, put them in all mismatching jars that we had that we'd collected from family and friends and things like that. So things like, you know, old coffee jars and vases and you know, jam jars and things like that, and just made little arrangements with a few of those on every table. My sister did all the lettering and all the artwork for the day, all the signage. So she, you know, did all the calligraphy, she designed all the invitations and all of that jazz as well. So everyone put in a lot of effort for the big day. And apart from the rain, everything went pretty smoothly. So hopefully Matt and Jess are happy with how everything turned out. Congrats, guys. I don't know if I'll be doing anything like this again anytime soon. Maybe not, we'll see. It was a lot of fun to do all of this. It's a lot of stress, and I blame myself a little bit because I did leave everything quite late in terms of starting to make everything. Like, I didn't need to leave it as late as I did. Unfortunately, I have a tendency to do that just in life. This isn't just a wedding thing. This is I'm that person that, you know, crams for an exam 2 weeks before the exam and likes to do everything a little bit last minute, which does put a little bit more stress on there. That being said, I had pretty much finished everything at least a couple of weeks before the actual wedding. A week. So I wasn't like cutting it so super fine, but it was unnecessarily stressful. I think I thought it would be a lot easier than it was. That was my problem, where this fabric was just that little bit more fiddly to work with. I hadn't taken that kind of time into account, because when I'd sewn all of these things before, because I have sewn a Magnolia dress before, and I had sewn multiple tours of her wedding dress before, and I was like, oh, I can just sew these in a couple of hours and I'm done. But actually everything just took that a little bit longer than I had anticipated. So for any of you guys out there planning your own DIY wedding, just, you know, give yourself more time than you need. It's definitely doable. You can make something that's so personal and beautiful and at a fraction of a cost than if you paid someone else to do it. But just give yourself the time so that you're not kind of crazy stressy about it all. Okay, so that's all I've got to share with you today. Thanks for tuning in with this very special wedding edition of the vlog, and I will see you guys next time.